Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and this is the final character out of the first 6 we have been drip marketed since like 2022 closed betas, right? Hoyoverse really took their time on him, rerunning Luocha, however you want to call him. Really strong character. Obviously, they were smart. Hoyoverse is very intelligent. They know why they wanted to drag off. Out of the 6 characters, including like Kafka, Blade, Silverwolf, Zila, and Xingyuan, Luocha is the last one they wanted to put out for very good reason. Super flexible, super versatile, works very nicely into most team compositions that you have. In fact, out of all of the 3 sustained characters that I have right now, Luocha, Ho, and Fucc, I noticed that I play with Luocha the most, and speaking from a person who has majority of characters in the game, it does show you how flexible Luocha is. He might not be the best in slot in all teams, but he'll never be totally useless. He does cleansing with his skill, he does removal of enemy buffs with his ult, and he's very skill point positive. I'll touch on all of these in a bit, and we'll compare them with some other characters in the game too. And even with other characters coming up like Gallagher, you have Aventurine coming up, I still do think that Luocha is a very worthwhile investment for any of you who want a particular style, and let me just talk about that first. So, where do I think he shines? He shines in a lot of ways. For any of you Honkai Impact 3 player, you probably can resonate more than I don't play Honkai Impact 3. But if you like these kind of like Berserker game styles like Blade, you like Berserker styles, for example, like Ireland. What I mean by Berserker is like you sap your own life and you do like massive amounts of damage at the cost of your own HP. Or maybe to some extent like Jingliu, who saps everyone's HP. If you have played Jingliu often and you put like Fucc inside, you realize that after a while your whole team is on red bar and you're just worried that they all die, and you kind of have to have like some sort of sustain. Luocha is a solution for that, a very effective solution, and he doesn't even use any skill points at all, meaning that you can be actually a very skill point positive if you put Luocha. You put Blade, these two are generally quite skill point positive because Blade does a lot of DPS without the need of skill points as well once he enhances himself. This guy just funnels skill points from a supportive role, probably one of the best skill point funnelers for a support, and let me tell you why. Most supports in the game, or most defensive healer type units, need to use, let me just give an example that everyone is pretty familiar with. Natasha, for example, you need to use your skill so that you heal your teammate. Yes, you might have an ult and stuff like that, but you need to use your skill in order to get some energy. Outside of these active buttons that you use, healers like these can't do much else. Same for links, it's very similar. You need to use some skill points here and there. There is a scenario where Luocha doesn't need to even use a single drop of skill points, which means you can just basic attack, and you will be very net positive as long as you don't need the sustain. Why is that the case? Firstly, he has this talent field passive that goes up on the field. Think of it like a lifesteal field. If any of your characters attack the enemy, they will heal a portion of Luocha's attack, so it scales off with Luocha on the character that attack and the rest of the team as well, which is crazy because every time you attack with like Blade, for example, your whole team heals up. Jingliu saps the whole life of your whole teammate, attacks, your whole team heals back up. So you reduce a lot of these HP sapping downsides. And that's what Luocha is really strong for. So most of his sustain comes from this field, which takes no skill points at all. You can get the stacks to deploy this field with his ultimate and with his passive flower. So how do you proc this passive skill is whenever a teammate drops below 50%, you will immediately cast this skill and it gains like the stack of the Abyss Flower to proc that talent passive field. What is so good about this? Why is this 50% like really strong? It's not only that it's free, firstly, you don't have to use any skill points at all, but imagine if, let's say, one of your characters is getting pinpointed by the boss, like maybe for some reason they're putting a target bot on Blade, everyone's smacking him, they're CCing him, they freeze him and whatnot. Luocha will automatically heal Blade once he drops below that 50% threshold, and it cleanses that unit straight up, and immediately they can even like take action, for example, if Blade can counter. Very important, especially with characters that draw a lot of aggro, have some sort of counter mechanic, and want to have that cleanse. I don't have Clara on this account, I was like searching for her, but I don't know why I was doing that, but also a character like Clara will draw quite a lot of aggro, and have a chance of being CC is like quite high. So that's why Luocha is very good. All of these, as we talked about, doesn't require any skill points. The only reason I find myself using his skill is because I want to push for this talent field up quicker. Maybe I see that my team needs a bit more sustain, but the flexibility that I can choose or not makes it really very great in my opinion. Other than that, his ultimate is also not a heal. To some people, like at the start of the game, maybe you might find it not very intuitive because characters like Natasha, characters like Lynx, their ultimate is a burst heal. Lynx here also is a burst heal. One of the downsides, I would say, of not having a burst heal in the out for new players is that you don't have an emergency panic button. This skill heal is like only one instance of panic heal, whereas the ultimate here is like more of a damage. The benefit of this is it doesn't matter whether Luocha is CC'd or not, his talent field will still exist for the couple of turns that is around. That's the amazing part. Similar like when Fucc is like being stolen by the something upon death by enemy, her field still is active, so you still get damage reduction, which is pretty impressive. Luocha's field works in a similar fashion too. So many good things about him. His out is only like 100 burst cost, very easy to proc. And let me just explain to you even more what makes him so good. If you think of a roster, you have a character like DPS, you have another DPS, maybe you're running a double DPS team, Blade, Jing Liu as well as Luocha. These three work really well together. You can put Runmei, Bronya in the last slot. But for example, I'm just going to like talk about these four here. You want to build your DPSs first. Blade, Jing Liu, you want to push them up as much as you can so you can get as much damage. The next one you want to focus on is Bronya. And if you have to replicate this for like 2 teams, for example, you will realize that your healers always lack attention. They lack love, they don't have enough sustain and stuff like that. Which means that do you want to like invest in their gear, take them up very high and farm for their gear dedicatedly, or do you want to like just give them whatever else they use that you have spares off and they can still run with it? That's a character that makes Luocha really good because he skills off with attack, he skills off with speed, because he wants to attack more so he gets more energy with his basic attacks, and all your DPSs most likely will be using attack and speed. You can just give them your hand-me-downs and stuff like that. As you can see here, I'm literally running with Blade's hand-me-downs. Like Blade uses a 4-piece Longevous Disciple, so I just hand like the 2-piece Longevous Disciple to Luocha, 2-piece Messenger Hacker Space, which is come from exact same domain, and I use Broken Heal as well. So it's like super random sets, and he still functions really well. On top of that, I auto-battle almost every single thing now. Of course, this is a slightly more whale-ish account, but my Luocha is nothing like a whale's Luocha. I have his tracers at 5777. Some of you will be laughing at this. New players probably might even have a higher trace than I do, but even with very low amounts of level 7, he still works very fantastic. And that is something that I think 5-star stats does, the amount of scaling he does, and the synergy he has of attack scaling, because a lot of supports buff attack, and he directly benefits from that, and his heal increases with any support that's buffing attack. So that is the key things I want to talk about Luocha. Free-to-play aspect. How good is he free-to-play? I think he's tremendously awesome free-to-play. I'm using Quid Pro Quo right now, but you can easily use any other. Like, the world is your oyster in terms of light cones. You can choose any light cone that you want, and they kind of will be quite relevant for him. I'm just using Quid Pro Quo because I generally run a little bit faster Luocha, and I want to like funnel this energy into Runmei when I put Runmei on the team, for example. But yeah. Other than that, Eidolons. His Eidolons E1 and E2 are absolute dog shit. Like, don't laugh at this. I'm an absolute dumbass for actually picking up this ablution of quick while on the field. Attack increases by 20% when the field is active. This is absolutely retarded. I have no idea why I got this. Back then, I wanted to go for E6, but then I realized I'm poor, can't afford it. Then I'm left with this absolute worst E1 in the entire game. Goes to Luocha. This is my biggest regret in Honkai Star Rail. But yeah, he doesn't even need E1, E2. They are absolute trash. It only starts getting better at E4, E6. But I'll argue at E4, E6, you might as well take these 4 Eidolons and get 4 new characters, which will be much better for your overall account. He works fine. Very low investment. Very cheap to build. Super versatile. I can't really convince you more or say how much he's worth it. Just that if you have him, he's going to feel very easy to use. I use him the most out of the 3 characters on my team. Probably the second one I use the most is like Fucc. Even when Adventuring comes out, I still do see myself using Luocha a lot. Even with characters like Lynx, even with characters like Natasha, Gallagher, I still think he's going to have a place in the meta, especially if you think that more characters are Berserker-like in future that are coming up. I think he's a very good pickup if any of you have additional resources. You like his design, maybe a Honkai Impact 3 player, I think he's still very solid in version 2.1 and beyond. And that's my thought process. If you want to see more information of comparing him with Aventurine, because they're both very similar, both imaginary, check out this video right here. And thank you guys so much for watching. We do this every single patch. Like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.